So again, today we're going to start with Wednesday's lesson, which will be on page 393. We're going to talk about reducing adverb clauses to modifying adverbial phrases. If you remember that we did that in chapter 13 with reducing adjective clauses to adjective phrases, this is very similar. Okay? So if we look on page 393, chart 18.1, adverb clause. While I was walking to class, I ran into an old friend. Modifying phrase. While walking to class, I ran into an old friend. So here, if you notice the difference between the clause and the phrase, we're going to eliminate the subject and the form of the verb be. The main verb is already in ing form. So you say, while walking to class, I ran into an old friend. Another one, adverb clause. Before I left for work, I ate breakfast. So here we have the subject, I, and then left. There is no verb be, so we're going to change left to ing form. Before leaving for work, I ate breakfast. In chapter 13, we discussed changing adjective clauses to modifying phrases. See chart 1311 on page 295. Some adverb clauses may also be changed to modifying phrases, and the ways in which the changes are made are the same. For example, if there is a be form of the verb, omit the subject of the dependent clause and the be verb, as in letter B. So here, while I was walking, see, here's the subject, here's the verb be, and here's the ing verb. So you omit the subject and the be verb, and then you just have your adverbial phrase. While walking to class, I ran into an old friend. Or, if there is no be form of the verb, omit the subject and change the verb to ing as in D. Here, before I left for work, I ate breakfast. There is no verb be. So we omit the subject and change the main verb to ing form. Before leaving for work, I ate breakfast. Now if we look at examples E, F, change possible. While I was sitting in class, I fell asleep. So here's the change. While sitting in class, I fell asleep. F, change possible. While Anne was sitting in class, she fell asleep. So here you eliminate the subject and the verb be. While sitting in class, Anne fell asleep. An adverb clause can be changed to a modifying phrase only when the subject of the adverb clause and the subject of the main clause are the same. A modifying adverbial phrase that is the reduction of an adverb clause modifies the subject of the main clause. Okay? So the subjects in the adverb clause and in the main clause have to be the same. I and I, same subject. Or Anne and she, same subject. But look at letter G. There is no change possible. While the teacher was lecturing to the class, I fell asleep. The teacher is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause. So no reduction or change is possible if the subjects of the adverb clause and the main clause are different, as in letter G. Again, teacher is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause, so no change is possible. Also letter H. While watching TV last night, the phone rang. So in letter H, while watching is called a dangling modifier or a dangling participle, a modifier that is incorrectly hanging alone without an appropriate noun or pronoun subject to modify. Okay? Doesn't tell us who was watching TV last night. So it's a dangling modifier or dangling participle because there is no subject. Now, let's look at exercise 2. Choose the correct sentence in each pair. Let's do number 1 together. 1. While sitting at my computer, the fire alarm went off. B. While sitting at my computer, I heard the fire alarm go off. Which one do you think is correct? The correct answer is B. Because in A, while sitting on my computer, doesn't tell us who was sitting at the computer, and the fire alarm was not sitting at the computer. So it's two different subjects, so that's not correct. But over here, while sitting on my computer, I heard the fire alarm go off. I was sitting at the computer, and I heard the fire alarm go off. So it's B. Look at number 2. While standing on the top floor of the building, the crowd below looked like ants. And B, while standing on the top floor of the building and looking down, Patrick suddenly felt dizzy. Which one do you think is correct? The correct answer is going to be B again. Because over here, while standing on the top floor of the building, the crowd below looked like ants. The crowd is down in the street. They're not standing on the top floor. But over here, while standing on the top floor of the building and looking down, Patrick suddenly felt dizzy. Patrick was the one that was standing on the top floor. He's the one that felt dizzy. So letter B. Number 3. Before getting up, Mary likes to lie in her warm bed and plan her day. B. Before getting up, Mary's alarm clock went off 3 times by accident. Which one do you think is correct? So this one is going to be letter A. Before getting up, Mary likes to lie in her warm bed and plan her day. Before Mary gets up, see? So she likes to lie in her warm bed and plan her day. And over here, before getting up, Mary's alarm clock went off 3 times by accident. The alarm clock was not in bed. It was Mary who was in bed. So this is not correct, only A. Number 4, A. While working on his new novel, William found himself telling the story of his childhood. B. After finishing his novel, many of William's childhood friends contacted him. What do you think is the correct answer? So here, the correct answer is A. Because William was working on the novel. And he's the one that found himself telling the story of his childhood. Okay? The childhood friends were not finishing the novel. No, William was. So only A. B is incorrect. 2 different subjects. Number 5A. After standing in line for hours to buy tickets, the manager told us the concert was sold out. After standing in line for hours to buy tickets, we were told the concert was sold out. Which one is correct? The correct answer is going to be B, because we were standing in line to buy tickets and we were told the concert was sold out. The manager was not standing in line. He's the one that told us that the concert was sold out. So letter B. Number 6. Before turning in your essay, it is important to check the grammar and spelling. Before you turn in your essay, it is important to check the grammar and spelling. So in this one, the correct answer is going to be B, because you turn in the essay and you check the grammar and spelling. Okay? So we go to page 394, chart 18.2. This is changing time clauses to modifying adverbial phrases. Okay, now this is dealing with adverb time clauses. And some of these words will give us the modifying adverbial phrases which are also time clauses, okay? So we look at examples A and B. Clause. Since Maria came to this country, she has made many friends. So Maria is the same as she. So you say, okay, drop the subject Maria and change came, because there's no verb be, to coming. And now you say, since coming to this country, instead of she, we say Maria. Maria has made many friends. C and D. When Tyrell cooks, he uses a lot of spices. Tyrell is the subject in the adverb clause. He is the subject in the main clause, same person. So you say, drop the subject, change cooks because there's no verb be to ing. When cooking, Tyrell uses a lot of spices. We use Tyrell over here instead of he. Adverb clauses beginning with after, before, when, while, and since can be changed to modifying adverbial phrases. So if we look at examples E, F, and G. In example E, after he had finished his homework, Peter went to bed. So the clause, after finishing his homework, Peter went to bed. And G, after having finished his homework, Peter went to bed. Okay? So there is no difference in meaning between after he finished and after he had finished. In F and G, there is no difference in meaning between after finishing and after having finished. Okay? So here, after he finished or after he had finished, there's no difference in meaning. And in after finishing his work, because we're going to drop the subject, he, and there's no verb be, so we're going to change the main verb to ing. After finishing his homework, Peter went to bed. Or you can also say, after having finished, change this to ing and keep this as a past participle. After having finished his homework, Peter went to bed. So there's no difference in meaning between A, B, and C. G, F, and G. The only difference here is that E is a clause and F and G are phrases. There's no difference in meaning. Here's another phrase. Peter went to bed after finishing his homework. Here the main clause is first, the adverb clause is second, or the adverbial phrase. There is no comma because it follows the main clause. The modifying adverbial phrase may follow the main clause as in letter H. So here there's a footnote at the bottom of chart 18.2. When can also mean upon. If it has this meaning, it cannot be reduced to a phrase. We're going to see chart 18.5 maybe today, I believe today. Okay. So let's look at exercise 3. Underline the subject of the adverb clause and the subject of the main clause in each sentence. Change the adverb clause to modifying adverbial phrases if possible. So we look at number 1, A. While Joe was driving to school yesterday, he had an accident. So here's the subject in the adverb clause. Here's the subject in the main clause. Same person, Joe is he. So you say, okay, while, drop the verb be, keep the ing. While driving to school yesterday, comma, instead of he, we say Joe. Joe had an accident. Look at B. While Joe was talking to his insurance company, the police arrived. Joe is the subject in the adverb clause. The police is the subject in the main clause. Two different subjects, so no change. Look at number 2. Before I came to class, I stopped in a cafe for a cup of coffee. I is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause. Same. So you say before, drop the subject, change this to ing because there's no verb be. Before coming to class, comma, I stopped in a cafe for a cup of coffee. Number B. Before the students came to class, they met at a cafe for lunch. Students is the subject in the adverb clause. They is the subject in the main clause. Same, the students are they. Same subject, so you say before, okay, before coming to class, the students met at a cafe for lunch. Again, before coming to class, comma, the students met at a cafe for lunch. Let's look at number 3. Since Alberto moved here, he has been taking business classes. What's my subject in the adverb clause? Alberto. What's the subject in the main clause? He. Same subject. Okay? So here you say, since moving here, comma, Alberto instead of he has been taking business classes. Again, since moving here, comma, Alberto has been taking business classes. Letter B. Since Alberto opened his new business, his family hasn't seen much of him. Alberto is the subject in the adverb clause. His family is the subject in the main clause. Two different subjects, no change. Okay. Go ahead and do number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Remember, underline the subject in the adverb clause and the subject in the main clause. If they are the same, you may make a change. If they are not the same, then no change is possible. I'll give you a few minutes for that. Okay, let's look at 4A. Omar's wife drove Omar to his downtown office after he had finished breakfast. So, the wife is the subject in the main clause. He is the subject in the adverb clause. No change is possible because it's two different subjects. Look at B. Omar walked up 10 flights of stairs to his office after he had entered the building. Omar is the subject here, and he is the subject in the adverb clause. Same subject, so you say, Omar walked up 10 flights of stairs to his office after entering the building. Again, Omar walked up 10 flights of stairs to his office after, after entering the building or after having entered the building. Same thing. This is just like examples F and G on chart 18.2 on page 394. Look at number 5. When the waiter took my order, I forgot to order a beverage. That means a drink. Okay? So here, the waiter is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause. Two different subjects, no change. B. When I order coffee, I always ask for extra cream and sugar. I is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause. So it's the same subject. So you say, okay. When ordering coffee, I always ask for extra cream and sugar. Number 6. A. You should always read a contract carefully before you sign your name. So you say you should always read a contract carefully before signing your name. Change is possible because it's you and you, same subject. Again, you should always read a contract carefully before signing your name. And letter B. Before I signed my name, I had a lawyer look over the contract. So here, same subjects, I and I. So you say, before signing my name, comma, I had a lawyer look over the contract. We're going to eliminate I and change signed to ing because there's no verb be. Before signing my name, I had a lawyer look over the contract. Number 7A. After Carl had been climbing for several hours, his muscles began to ache. So Carl is the subject in the adverb clause. His muscles is the subject in the main clause. Two different subjects. So no change. But look at B. After Carl slipped and lost his footing, he held onto the ledge with all his strength. So Carl and he, same subject. After slipping, there's no verb be, so we change this to ing, and losing his footing. Remember, parallel structure, slipping and losing. Here's my conjunction. After slipping and losing his footing, comma, Carl, instead of he, held onto the ledge with all his strength. Again, after slipping and losing his footing, Carl held onto the ledge with all his strength. Okay. Now, we're not going to do exercise 4 or 5 because here we have two charts that go back to back. Expressing the idea in chart 18.3, expressing the idea of during the same time in modifying adverbial phrases, and in chart 18.4, expressing cause and effect in modifying adverbial phrases. So we look at example A on chart 18.3. While I was walking down the street, I ran into an old friend. B. While walking down the street, I ran into an old friend. And C. Walking down the street, I ran into an old friend. So here, in A, this is an adverb clause. While I was walking down the street. That's an adverb clause right there. Okay? And I are the same subjects in the adverb clause and in the main clause. So you say, okay, I can do a change. So I eliminate the subject I and then the verb be, and you say, while walking down the street. This is now my adverbial phrase, comma, I ran into an old friend. You can even go further and say, instead of while, eliminate while and just say, walking down the street, comma, I ran into an old friend. Sometimes while is omitted, but the ing phrase at the beginning of the sentence gives the same meaning, meaning during the same time. See? So here, like in letter B, you can eliminate while, like in C, and it has the same meaning. Examples A, B, and C have the same meaning. Now let's look at chart 18.4. And this is expressing cause and effect in modifying adverbial phrases. So in letter A, because she needed some money to buy a book, Sue went to a cash machine. She and Sue, same subject, so there's a change possible. So you drop because. Because is not used in a modifying adverbial phrase, okay? So you drop because, you drop the subject she, so there's no verb be, you're going to change this to ing. So you're going to say, needing some money to buy a book, comma, Sue went to a cash machine. Look at C. Because he lacked the necessary qualifications, he was not considered for the job. So, okay, he and he, same subject. So you say, okay, I drop because. I cannot use because in a modifying adverbial phrase. Drop the subject, change, because there's no verb be, change this to ing. Lacking the necessary qualifications, comma, he was not considered for the job. So often an ing phrase at the beginning of the sentence gives the meaning of because. Examples A and B have the same meaning. Because is not included in a modifying phrase. It is omitted, but the resulting phrase expresses a cause and effect relationship as in B and D. Okay? Look at E and F. Having seen that movie before, I don't want to go again. Having seen that movie before, I didn't want to go again. Having, and the past participle in this case, seen, gives the meaning of not only of, because, but also before. Okay? So here, when you use having plus a past participle, you're going to give the meaning of not only because, but also before. That means, having seen that movie before, I already saw it. I don't want to see it again. Okay? Letters G, H, I, J, and K. Because he is a doctor, Oscar often gets calls in the middle of the night. So remember, we cannot use, because he, well first, the first thing we do is check the subjects. He and Oscar are the same subject. So we drop because, we drop he, and then here we have the verb be. We're going to change it to progressive. Present progressive. So you say, being, there's your verb be. Being a doctor, comma, Oscar often gets calls in the middle of the night. Look at F. Because she was unable to afford a car, she bought a bike. She and she, same subject, so you say, okay, there's change possible. No because. We cannot use because in an adverbial phrase. Drop the subject, drop the verb be, okay? Actually, we're going to change the verb be to ing, okay? So you're going to say, being, there's your verb be in the ing form. Being unable to afford a car, comma, she bought a bike. Letter K. Unable to afford a car, comma, she bought a bike. You can drop being also. It has the same meaning, okay? It has the same meaning as in GH and JK. A form of be in the adverb clause may be changed to being. The use of being makes the cause and effect relationship clear. Examples I and J and K have the same meaning. Okay. So if you turn to page 396 and look at exercise 4. In exercise 4, it says, underline the modifying adverbial phrases. Which ones have the meaning of because? Which ones have the meaning of while? Do some of the sentences give the idea of both, because and while? So if we look at number 1, A is done for us. So the first thing we have to do is underline the adverbial phrase. And then we have to look at that and determine, is this while or is this because? So number 1, driving to my grandparents' house last night, I saw a young woman who was selling flowers. I stopped so I could buy some for my grandmother. So here, this is the adverbial phrase. Driving to my grandparents' house last night. So this means while. Because it would be, while I was driving to my grandparents' house last night. See? So that means while. Look at B. Being a young widow with 3 children, my grandmother had no choice but to go to work. So the adverbial phrase here is going to be being a young widow with 3 children. And the meaning here is going to be because. So here, because my grandmother was a young widow with 3 children, she had no choice but to go to work. See? So this is because. Let's do number 2, A and B together. Sitting on the airplane and watching the clouds pass beneath me, I let my thoughts wander to the new experiences that were in store for me during the next 2 years of living abroad. In other words, of living in another country. So my adverbial phrase, sitting on an airplane and watching the clouds pass beneath me. That's your adverbial phrase, all of this. Okay? So here, if you look at that, you will say, while I was sitting on the airplane and watching the clouds pass beneath me, the answer here is going to be while, not because. Okay, letter B. Tapping her fingers loudly on the tray table in front of her, the woman next to me talked about her fear of flying. So this is what the woman was doing. So my adverbial phrase, tapping her fingers loudly on the tray table in front of her. Okay? And you're going to say, okay, why was she tapping? While or because? Okay? So here you say, the meaning is going to be because. Okay? Because she was tapping because the woman was tapping her fingers loudly on the tray table in front of me. Okay? She talked to me about her fear of flying. So this is going to be because. Go ahead and do number 3 and 4, A and B. Underline the adverbial phrase first, and then determine, is it going to be because, or while, or both? Okay, let's look at number 3A. Having guessed the answers for most of the test, I did not expect to get a high score. So here, having guessed the answers for most of the test. That's your adverbial phrase. Okay? So here, you're going to say, I did not expect to get a high score. So this is going to be because. Because I guessed at the answers for most of the test. Okay? Letter B. Realizing that I didn't know much, I began to panic. My adverbial phrase, realizing that I didn't know much. And then I began to panic. So you say, okay, this is my adverbial phrase, realizing that I didn't know much. So here, you can use both. Because I didn't know much, I began to panic, or while I realized that I didn't know much, I began to panic. So both because and while are correct. Look at number 4. Walking down the icy steps without using the handrail, Elena slipped and fell. So my adverbial phrase, walking down the icy steps without using the handrail. Okay? So here, Elena slipped and fell. So you say both. While Elena walked down the icy steps without using the handrail, she slipped and fell. And because Elena walked down the icy steps without using the handrail, she slipped and fell. Both are correct also. Number 4B. Having broken her arm in the fall, Elena had to learn to write with her left hand. My adverbial phrase, having broken her arm in the fall. So that's the adverbial phrase right here. Now, is that because or while? So this is going to be because she broke her arm in the fall, Elena had to learn to write with her left hand. Okay? All right. If we look at exercise 7, change the adverb clauses to modifying adverbial phrases. Okay? Because David didn't want to hurt her feelings, he ate his girlfriend's salty soup. So you say, okay, no because. David, we're going to use in the main clause. We're not going to use did, but we're going to use not. And change this to ing because there's no verb be. So you start, not wanting to hurt her feelings, comma, David ate his girlfriend's salty soup. Ask yourself this question. How many times have you been to someone's home, they invited you for a meal, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And when you saw what they were serving, you said, oh no, I don't like onions, or I don't like tripitas, or I don't like liver, you know. But you went ahead and ate it because you didn't want to hurt their feelings, because they spent a long time preparing for this food, not realizing that you didn't like onions or tripitas or liver. Okay? So look at B. Number 2, I'm sorry. Because his girlfriend hadn't tasted the soup, she didn't realize how bad it was. Okay? So here, we're going to eliminate because. Okay? And then we're going to use his girlfriend over here in the main clause instead of she didn't. Okay? So you're going to say, and then you have had not. So you're going to say, not having tasted the soup, comma, His girlfriend did not realize how bad it was. Again, not having tasted the soup, comma, his girlfriend didn't realize how bad it was. Number 3. Because David thinks that honesty can be hurtful, he doesn't tell her how he really feels. Okay? So here you're going to eliminate because. We're going to put David over here in the main clause. Okay? And then we're going to change this to ing. Okay? So you're saying, thinking that honesty can be hurtful, comma, David doesn't tell her how he really feels. Again, thinking that honesty can be hurtful, comma, David doesn't tell her how he really feels. Number 5. Because David is a better cook, he does most of the cooking for them. So we drop because. David we're going to use over here instead of he. So here's the verb be. Change it to ing. Being a better cook, comma, David does most of the cooking for them. Again, being a better cook, David does most of the cooking for them. Okay, let's look at exercise 8. On exercise 8, you're going to choose all the possible answers for each sentence, whether they could be an adverb clause or an adverbial phrase. You're going to choose all the possible answers. If we look at number 1, that's already done for us. Before talking to you, I had never understood that formula. And before I talked to you, I had never understood that formula. Not talked. Let's do number 2. After blank the chapter 4 times, I finally understood the author's theory. Okay? So here, in a clause, after I read the chapter 4 times, and in a phrase, after reading. Go ahead and do numbers 3 through 9 on page 397. All the possible answers, okay? Okay. Number 3. Since blank his bachelor's degree, he has had 3 jobs, each one better than the last. So in this one, since he completed, that's an adverb clause, his bachelor's degree, and since completing his bachelor's degree. He has had 3 jobs, each one better than the last. So for number 3, A and B only. Look at number 4. Blank across Canada, I could not help being impressed by the great differences in terrain. Traveling across Canada, while I was traveling across Canada, and while traveling across Canada. A and C are adverbial phrases. You can remember you can eliminate while. And in B, while I was traveling, that's going to make it an adverb clause. So for number 4, A, B, C, and D. Number 5, blank national fame, the union leader had been an electrician in a small town. So here, letter A, before gaining national fame, that's an adverb phrase, and before he gained national fame, this is an adverb clause. So for number 5, A and C. Number 6, blank in an airplane before, the little girl was surprised and a little frightened when her ears popped. So here, having never flown in an airplane before, that's an adverbial phrase. And C, because she had never flown, that would make it an adverb clause. So for number 6, is B and C. Number 7, before blank vice president of marketing and sales, Peter McKay worked as a sales representative. Before becoming and before he became. B and C. Before becoming is an adverbial phrase. Before he became, adverb clause. Number 8. Blank the cool evening breeze and listening to the sounds of nature, we lost track of time. So an adverbial phrase, enjoying the evening breeze and listening to the sounds of nature, we lost track of time. Okay, and that's the only one. Okay, that's the only one. A is not a possibility and neither is C. Number 9. Blank to spend more money this month. Jim decided against going to a cafe for lunch. He took a sandwich to work instead. So here my choices are going to be letter A, adverbial phrase, not wanting to spend any more money this month, and letter B, because he didn't want to spend any more money this month. So here A is going to be the adverbial phrase, B is going to be the adverb clause. So A and B are correct. Now look at exercise 9. In exercise 9, it says, where possible, combine each pair of sentences by making a modifying phrase out of the first sentence. This is a visit home. I am a college student. My family doesn't see me so often now. I is the subject in the first sentence. My family is the subject in the second sentence. Two different subjects, no change. But look at B. I am a freshman in college. I spend most weekends in my dorm doing homework. I and I, same subject. So you drop I, change this to ing. Being a freshman in college, comma, I spend most weekends in my dorm room doing homework. Let's do number 2A together, and 2B. My younger siblings had made a welcome home sign. They were excited to see me. The siblings and they, same subject. Okay? So here, you're going to eliminate this. You're going to put this actually, you're going to put it over here instead of they. And then you're going to take this and change it to ing. Having made a welcome home sign, comma, my younger siblings were excited to see me. Having made a welcome home sign, comma, my younger siblings were excited to see me. Letter B. The kids were excited. I offered to play with them right away. Look at the subject in the first sentence. Look at the subject in the second sentence. Is it the same subject? No. So here, no change is necessary. Okay, go ahead and do number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'll give you a couple of minutes for that. Okay. Let's look at number 3. My mom lives a long distance from her job. She has to drive early every morning. Mom is a subject in the first sentence. She is a subject in the second sentence. Same subject. So you say, in this particular case, okay, drop my mom, you're going to actually use it in the second sentence or in the main clause. So you change this to ing because there's no verb be. Living a long distance from her job, comma, my mom has to leave early every morning. Again, living a long distance from her job, comma, my mom has to leave early every morning. B. My mom spends 4 hours a day commuting. Her job needs to change. My mom is the subject. Her job is the subject. 2 different subjects, no change. Number 4. I heard that my cousin was in the hospital. I called my aunt to find out how she was doing. I and I are the same subjects. Okay, so we're going to eliminate I. Change this to ing. Hearing that my cousin was in the hospital, comma, I called my aunt to find out how she was doing. Again, hearing that my cousin was in the hospital, comma, I called my aunt to find out how she was doing. Letter B. We decided to visit my cousin. A nurse told us she was resting. We, a nurse, 2 different subjects, no change. Number 5. My brother was picking blackberries in the garden. A bee stung him. My brother is the subject in the first sentence. A bee is the subject in the second sentence. 2 different subjects, no change. My brother didn't want to yell. He began taking deep breaths. My brother and he, same subject. So you're going to take this and put it here in the main clause. Take off didn't and use not. Not wanting, because there's no verb be, you change it to ing. Not wanting to yell, comma, my brother began taking deep breaths. Again, not wanting to yell, comma, my brother began taking deep breaths. Number 6. I recognize my neighbor, but I have forgotten his name. I just smiled and said hi. Okay? I and I, same subject. Okay? So you drop the first I, change this to ing, because there's no verb be. Recognizing my neighbor, comma, but having forgotten his name, parallel structure, comma, I just smiled and said hi. Again, recognizing my neighbor, comma, but having forgotten his name, comma, I just smiled and said hi. B. He remembered my name as well as my girlfriend's. I felt pretty embarrassed. He is the subject in this sentence. I is the subject in the other sentence. 2 different subjects, no change. Number 7. A. My little sister was convinced she could learn math. I helped her with some lessons. Little sister is the subject in the first sentence. I is the subject in the second sentence. 2 different subjects, no change. B. I was convinced that she had the ability. I encouraged her to trying and not give up. I and I, same subject, so change is possible. Okay? But we're going to take my little sister, we're going to use it in the second sentence or the main clause. So we're going to take the main verb be and change it to ing. And you're going to say, being convinced being convinced that she had the ability, comma, I encouraged her to keep trying and not give up, or being convinced she had the ability, okay, I encouraged my little sister to keep trying and not give up. Same thing, okay, because A and B are connected except that in A there's no change, okay. Being convinced that she had the ability, I encouraged her to keep trying and not give up. Okay. On exercise 10, it says make sentences by combining the ideas in each column. Use the idea on the left as a modifying adverbial phrase. Numbers 1 through 8. Show logical relationships. So you're going to combine them with A through G. Look at the example. They give birth only every 5 years. So here you're going to combine number 1 with letter G. And you say, okay, no they. We're going to change the verb be, the verb give to ing. Giving birth only every 5 years, comma. Female elephants do not have many offspring. Letter F. Letter G, G. Let's do number 2. She has done very well in her studies. Okay? Now you're going to compare that or pair it up with something from the right-hand column. So here you're going to eliminate she. Change this to ing because there's no verb be. Having done very well in her studies, comma, letter E. Nancy expects to be hired by a top company after graduation. Again, having done very well in her studies, Nancy expects to be hired by a top company after graduation. Letter E. Let's do one more together. He had done everything he could for the patient. So we're going to eliminate he. We're going to change had to ing because there's no verb be. So you're going to say, having done everything he could for the patient, comma, letter D. The doctor left to attend other people. Again, having done everything he could for the patient, comma, the doctor left to attend other people, lowercase t. So pair up number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 with the correct phrase from the right-hand column. And we'll check in a minute. Okay. Let's look at I skipped number 3. She was born 2 months early. Okay. So here you're going to eliminate she, and you're going to say this, you're going to change to ing. Being born 2 months early, comma, letter H. Monique needed special care for the first few weeks of her life. Again, being born 2 months early, comma, letter H. Monique needed special care for the first few weeks of her life. Let's skip 3 and went on to 4. Look at number 5. She had never eaten Thai food before. So we're going to drop she. Change this to ing because there's no verb be. Having never eaten Thai food before, comma, letter A. Marta didn't know what to expect when she went to the restaurant for dinner. Having never eaten Thai food before, comma, letter A. Marta didn't know what to expect when she went to the restaurant for dinner. The next one. He had no one to turn to for help. We're going to eliminate he. Change this to ing. Having no one to turn to for help, comma, letter C. Saeed was forced to work out the problem by himself. Again, having no one to turn to for help, comma, Saeed was forced to work out the problem by himself. Number 7. They are extremely hard and nearly indestructible. We're going to eliminate they. Here's the verb be. Change it to ing. Being extremely hard and nearly indestructible, comma, letter F. Diamonds are used extensively in industry to cut other hard minerals. Again, being extremely hard and nearly indestructible, comma, letter F. Diamonds are used extensively in industry to cut other hard minerals. Just put the letter F there. And number 8. They are able to crawl into very small places. Eliminate they. Here's the verb be. Change it to ing. Being able to crawl into very small places, comma, letter B. Mice can hide in almost any part of the house. Again, being able to crawl into very small places, comma, mice can hide in almost any part of a house. Okay, let's look at exercise 11. On exercise 11, check the sentences that are grammatically correct. Rewrite the incorrect sentences. Out and about. Out and about means that you really don't have a plan about where to go. You're out. You know, he says, okay, I'm going to be out and about. I'm not really going to go to one particular place. I'm just going to go to different places, or I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going to be out. Okay? So, number 1. After leaving the theater, Tom's car wouldn't start. So we had to take a taxi home. So here, that's incorrect because, okay, in this particular case, you have 2 different subjects. So after we left the theater, comma, Tom's car wouldn't start, comma, so we had to take a taxi home. Or after leaving the theater, comma, we discovered that Tom's car wouldn't start, so we took a taxi home. Number 2 is correct. After leaving work late, comma, we stopped at a coffee shop for a late night snack. Okay? Look at number 3. While walking across the street at a busy intersection, a truck nearly hit me. So the truck is the subject in the main clause. Who was walking? I. So this would not be correct. So no check mark. So you would say, while I was walking across the street at a busy intersection, comma, a truck nearly hit me. So it would be an adverb clause, not an adverb phrase. Number 4, not wanting to miss the last bus, comma, I yelled for it to wait as I ran along the sidewalk. Okay, I is the subject in the main clause. I did not want to miss the last bus. So this one, okay, is correct. Okay, so put a check mark for number 4. Because I did not want to miss the bus, I yelled for it to wait. I and I, so this is correct. Change is possible. Number 5. After arriving at a picnic with my cousins, it began to rain quite hard. It is the subject in the main clause. It is not the subject in the adverbial phrase. So here you have to change it to a clause. After I arrived at a picnic with my cousins, it began to rain quite hard. Again, after I arrived at a picnic with my cousins, comma, it began to rain quite hard. Go ahead and make changes for number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Number 6. While waiting for my husband at the mall, a friend from high school called out my name. So here, who was waiting for the husband? And here's the subject in the main clause, a friend. Friend was not waiting for my husband. So it's no, this is not correct. You cannot have an adverbial phrase. So you say, while I was waiting for my husband at the mall, comma, a friend from high school called out my name. Number 7. When asked for directions by a pair of tourists, I stopped to help them. Okay? Here, it's not correct, so you have to put, when I was asked for directions by a pair of tourists, I stopped to help them. Again, when I was asked for directions by a pair of tourists, I stopped to help them. Number 8. Being from out of town, 2 streets that had the same name confused visitors. Okay? So here, you're going to change this, you're going to change this part right here. Being from out of town, and you're going to say visitors were confused. Visitors were confused by two streets that had the exact same name. Visitors were confused by two streets that had the exact same name. That's quite a change on that one. Number 9. Hearing the siren, drivers pulled over and stopped to let the ambulance pass. Drivers, and they heard it. These are the drivers. Okay? The drivers heard the siren, so the drivers pulled over. So this is correct. So number 9 is correct. Number 10. Honking the horn, the ambulance driver carefully entered each intersection. So here, the ambulance driver, he carefully entered each intersection and he honked the horn. So this is correct. So put a check mark. So the sentences with check marks should be number 1, number 4, number 9, and number 10. Now let's go over to page 399 and let's look at that particular page. At the bottom, we're not going to do exercise 12. Let's look at exercise 13. This is a warm-up. Which sentences have the same meaning? When Sharon heard the news of her friend's death, here we go. When Sharon heard the news of her friend's death, she began to cry. Upon hearing the news of her friend's death, Sharon began to cry. On hearing the news of her friend's death, Sharon began to cry. Actually, all three sentences have the same meaning. Using when, Sharon heard, that's an adverb clause. Upon hearing, that's an adverbial phrase. Or just on hearing, that's an adverbial phrase too. So in chart 18.5, using upon plus ing in modifying adverbial phrases. Letter A. Upon reaching the age of 18, I can get my driver's license. B. When I reach the age of 18, comma, I can get my driver's license. Modifying adverbial phrases beginning with upon plus ing can have the same meaning as adverb clauses introduced by when. Examples A and B have the same meaning. So A and B here have the same meaning, except that here this is a modified adverbial phrase, upon reaching. And over here, this is an adverb clause, when I reach. Okay? Letter C. On reaching the age of 18, I can get my driver's license. Upon can be shortened to on. Examples A, B, and C all have the same meaning. So remember, upon or on plus ing have the same meaning as when. Okay? So let's look at exercise 14 on page 400. Make sentences using upon plus ing where possible. Remember, if the subjects are different, it's not possible. Okay? If we look at number 1A. When Carl saw his wife cross the marathon finish line, he broke into a big smile. Carl is the same subject as he. So you're going to say, upon, and change saw to ing, upon seeing his wife cross the marathon finish line, comma, Carl broke into a big smile. B. When Tina crossed the marathon finish line, comma, she collapsed in exhaustion. Okay? So here you're going to say upon, no Tina, change this to ing, Upon crossing the marathon finish line, Tina collapsed in exhaustion. Change she for Tina, the proper noun. Number 4. I'm sorry. Number 3. Two. Trying to get ahead here. When I looked in my wallet, I saw I didn't have enough money to pay my restaurant bill. So I, same subject. So you say, upon looking in my wallet, comma, I saw I didn't have enough money to pay my restaurant bill. Again, upon looking in my wallet, comma, I saw I didn't have enough money to pay my restaurant bill. B. Sam found that the waiter had to make, let me start again. Sam found that the waiter had made a math error when he brought the bill. So here, Sam is one subject, the waiter is another subject, or he, okay? The waiter is he, so it's two different subjects, no change. Number 3A. When you finish the examination, bring your paper to the front of your room. When you finish the examination, bring your paper to the front of the room. Here, you and your paper are two different subjects, so no change. Number 4. When I finished the exam, I decided to check all my answers again. I and I, same subject. So you say, upon, change this to ing because there's no verb be. Upon finishing the exam, comma, I decided to check all my answers again. Number 4. When the kids heard the good news, they jumped up and down with joy. So the kids is the subject in the adverb clause. They is the subject in the main clause. The kids and they are the same. So you say, upon, change heard to ing. Upon hearing the good news, the kids jumped up and down with joy. Again, upon hearing the good news, comma, the kids jumped up and down with joy. Letter B. The kids couldn't contain their excitement when their mom announced the news. So here the kids is the subject here in the main clause, and then their mom is the subject in the adverb clause. Two different subjects, no change. Last exercise, exercise 15. Change the adverb clause in each sentence to a modifying adverbial phrase if possible. Change punctuation, capitalization, and word order as necessary. So number 1 and 2 are done for us, A and B. Look at number 1A. After it spends some time in a cocoon, a caterpillar will emerge as a butterfly. Okay, so here say, okay, it and the caterpillar are the same subject. After spending some time in a cocoon, comma, a caterpillar will emerge as a butterfly. Look at B. When the butterfly emerged from the cocoon, the children became very quiet. The butterfly is the subject in the adverb clause. Children is the subject in the main clause. Two different subjects, no change. Number 2A. When we entered the room for the exam, we showed the teacher our ID. We and we, same subject. So you say, upon entering the room for the exam, comma, we showed the teacher our ID. Letter B. Because I was unprepared for the test, I didn't do well. I and I, same subject. So you drop because, remember we cannot use because in an adverbial phrase. And you drop the subject I, change the verb was, be to ing. Being up prepared for the test, comma, I didn't do well. Or, I'm prepared for the test, comma, I didn't do well. Let's do number 3. Jane's family has received a few text messages since she arrived in Kenya 2 weeks ago. Here we have no change because Jane's family is one subject. She is the subject in another in the adverb clause. 2 different subjects, no change. Look at B. Before Jane left on her trip, comma, she worked 2 jobs to earn enough money for a 3-week stay. So Jane and she, same. So we say, okay, before, no Jane. Jane we're going to use over here. Okay? Before, change left to ing. Before leaving on her trip, comma, Jane worked 2 jobs to earn enough money for a 3-week stay. Again, before leaving on her trip, comma, Jane worked 2 jobs to earn enough money for a 3-week stay. Go ahead and do number 4, 5, and 6. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Remember, if the subjects are different, no change is possible. So here, in number 4A, my parents reluctantly agreed to let me attend the concert after they talked it over. Think about this. What is the subject? My parents. And where are my parents in the adverb clause? They. Same subject. So you're going to say, my parents reluctantly agreed to attend the concert, comma, I'm sorry, no comma, after having talked it over, or after talking it over. Both. You can use both. Okay? My parents reluctantly agreed to let me attend the concert after talking it over, or after having talked it over. Same thing. B. Because I hadn't checked if I had my ticket with me, comma, I arrived at the concert empty-handed. So I and I, same subject. We cannot use because. We're not going to use I. So here you're going to make it negative first. Not having checked, so had is going to be changed to ing. But you put not first. Not having checked if I had my ticket with me, comma, I arrived at the concert empty-handed. Number 4. Because the forest area is so dry this summer, it is prohibited to light campfires. So here, the forest area is the subject in the adverb clause. It is the subject in the second main clause. 2 different subjects because this means rules. Okay? So no change. B. Because the forest campsites are very popular, they are often all taken by mid-morning. Campsites is the subject in the adverb clause. They is the subject in the main clause, same subject. So you say, in this particular case, you're going to drop because. Okay, and the forest campsites are going to be put over here in the main clause. So you're going to say, okay, being very popular, comma, the forest campsites are often all taken by mid-morning. Again, you change the verb be to ing. Being very popular, comma, the forest campsites are often all taken by mid-morning. Number 6a. After we had to wait for more than half an hour, we were finally seated at the restaurant. So we and we are the same subjects, so change is possible. So we're going to drop off we. We're going to change had to ing. After having to wait for more than half an hour, comma, we were finally seated at the restaurant. Again, after having to wait for more than half an hour, comma, we were finally seated at the restaurant. Okay? Letter B. When I discovered that I had left my wallet in the car, I told my friends to order without me while I went to get it. So here I is the subject in the adverb clause. I is the subject in the main clause, same subject. So here, instead of when, upon discovering, change this to ing. Upon discovering that I had left my wallet in the car, comma, I told my friends to order without me while I went to get it. You can also say, on discovering that I had left my wallet in the car, comma, I told my friends to order without me while I went to get it. Okay? Now, we're going to stop there for today. On tomorrow, on Thursday, we're going to finish pages 402, 401, 402, and basically it's a page and a half. And then we're going to start on page 405, chapter 19. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that we'll have an online session. Okay, we'll have an online session on Thursday morning at 8:30. And I can see who is on there. It's imperative that everyone participates. Okay? So please make sure that you're on there. Also, you're going to have a worksheet that on for tomorrow, for Wednesday. Okay, actually for today. Check your grammar course. Remember, click on in academic track grammar 261. Okay, check on that. Have a good day. Stay safe. And I will see you Thursday morning online.